Hello there. How's it going? Welcome back to Breakfast All Day. Okay, you guys.
Can I say it?
Yeah, if you want to.
Can I ask if we're ready?
Are you? No. Because you're gonna ruin that bit.
Oh, okay.
There's a bit in Dumbo that is like a point of no return for this film. And I don't want to ruin it because it must be experienced.
And then they do it twice.
And then they do it again. All right, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We're ahead of our ears. We're tripping over our own ears here. So. Alonso, please describe to us the live-action Tim Burton Dumbo.
Okay, so we begin with Colin Farrell returning from World War I with one arm. While he was away, his wife died of influenza. So it's a Disney movie. His kids are grieving. They are still living in the circus where he used to work, where he and the wife had a double act as horseback riders. But now, with the one arm, he has been relegated to taking care of the elephants. The ringmaster of the circus, Danny DeVito, has just acquired an elephant who's about to give birth, and when she does, her child has gigantic ears, and everybody thinks that's bananas, and he is mockingly named Dumbo. But then, of course, it turns out the kids figure out that if they can make him sneeze, he can fly. This is Act 1. So, that's how the cartoon, the good one, ends. Now, this movie has to figure out what it's going to do for the next hour of running time.
Right, because let's remind everyone, the first movie, the original movie is what?
70 minutes.
64.
64 minutes. So, enter Michael Keaton as an evil theme park mogul.
And the theme park is all Art Deco and futuristic.
Who has nefarious designs on basically buying up the whole circus just to get his hands on Dumbo. And then I saw this movie like 2 weeks ago, and I barely even remember what any of the motivation for anything is.
Then clearly, Alan Arkin was wandering around on set in a tux, doing a different movie, and wanders in for a couple scenes, and then wanders out.
I said that in my review. Like all of a sudden, Alan Arkin wanders in from an entirely different film and like does some shtick and leaves. It's bizarre.
You can't control your animal.
And I'll tell you, the parents, you'll be thrilled to know that Dumbo and his mother are separated not once but twice in this one.
Having said that, I did not cry enough.
I didn't cry a jot.
I got teary-eyed that first time, and it's not a spoiler, guys. It's in the trailer, and it's in the animated movie when the mama trunk comes up and the baby trunk, and they intertwine, and they kind of whimper at each other.
In the cartoon, devastating.
Totally. I got teary-eyed during that part, and Nick is sitting next to me going, "Are you crying yet? Are you crying yet?" Because he likes to make fun of me. And really, I should be in a puddle of sobs.
Here's my question.
Yes.
Did you cry because this movie was presenting it effectively, or did you cry out of nostalgia for the old one?
Good question.
Did it just remind you of a scene that did make you cry?
Maybe, or it's just like that hormonal thing that's still in there, I guess. As a mom, like all this time later, like the idea of having my little boy ripped from me, like that's really sad.
I wish someone would rip my little boy from me. He's a monster. That's coming when he turns 15.
That magical age.
So all I know is that if I'm not crying, you've done something wrong. This is a pastiche of better Tim Burton movies, and it's impossible not to think of everything that this is reminiscent of, beginning with early on, the Danny Elfman score is flat out the Edward Scissorhands score. It is nearly identical, which is one of Tim Burton's best films ever, and that score is still so haunting. So you are repeatedly thinking of a better film that should be tugging at your heartstrings. The fact that it takes place at a century-old circus is big fish all over the place with Danny DeVito as your ringleader, which he was in that film as well. And then you have Michael Keaton, who has been in such better Tim Burton movies as Beetlejuice. You have a little Batman Returns reunion with him and Danny DeVito. So over and over again, you are reminded of how inferior this is. And they really have stretched out this idea of a film, but then they haven't developed the characters to carry that story along.
I didn't care about anybody. And you're right. This is a movie that should have so been in Burton's wheelhouse because it's about a hero with an unusual physicality who is at first mocked but then later understood and loved for its poetry and its soul.
He's a classic Burton misfit.
Yeah, yes. And they don't do anything with that. You would think that the circus milieu would give him the license to really go crazy with the art direction or with something, but it feels kind of safe and familiar. I mean, even the front the front panel of the Casey Jr. train looks like the Shrek's department store logo from Batman Returns. But yeah, there's no, when you think of better Burton, you're looking for it in this movie and you're never getting it.
The Colleen Atwood costumes are quite lovely, especially everything that Ava Green gets to wear.
Yes.
So there's that. I mean, the great Colleen Atwood. You have all of his longtime, collaborators here, and they all know what they're doing. But again and again, it's like, I've seen that, and I've seen that, and that's been better elsewhere. And
this movie's terrible. So I think they make a big mistake not letting the animals talk. Right, not that Dumbo ever says anything in the original film, but not having Timothy, who is basically a Jiminy Cricket type character, like not doing that. I think I get why they're doing it, sort of, except that we got talking animals in the Jungle Book, and we're going to get that in The Lion King.
Having said that, the visual effects are kind of jumpy here, so I'm not sure that talking would have helped. Like there's like a jerkiness to the flapping that's really distracting and off. So would talking have helped? I don't know.
I thought the actual Dumbo character was pretty well faked. I mean, I didn't notice the jerkiness so much, but I don't. But you're right. I think there's a fundamental problem with these Disney remakes of their movies. These movies are usually musicals, and the new ones feel very skittish about doing that, unless it's Beauty and the Beast, where they just do it up, But like Jungle Book, you'd get these snatches of some of the songs, and here you get like a little Pink Elephants on Parade.
Right. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because I think the songs from Dumbo are some of the best songs from any, like that's one of my favorite of the musicals. Like those songs are terrific.
Unfortunately, you can't bring those crows back.
No, you can't bring the crows back. I get that, but Casey Jr. and Pink Elephants and Baby Mine.
When I See an Elephant Fly.
Like those songs are terrific songs, and it's that they completely abandon them is frustrating, right? You get the musical cues, and they do a little bit of like, similar to what we saw in the Jungle Book, where there's one or two of the snippets, like the greatest hits, and there's references to them, but I think that's a mistake here. And then so it becomes dependent on this story of the father reconnecting with the kids. It doesn't help that I didn't really particularly care for the performance by the daughter.
You know who that is? Nico Parker. That's Tandy Newton's daughter.
It looks exactly like her.
I wish she had more to play. I wish she had more of a character. But there's a sort of
like
quiet,
maybe,
regal bearing to her that I like.
I like her presence, totally, but I think it was Angie Hahn who said on Twitter, liking science is not a character, even if it's a girl.
Right. She wants to run away from the circus and join the lab. Like,
but I like that. At least they give her that, but that's all she gets.
Right. They give her that.
The little boy gets nothing.
But then they kind of like, by the end, though, that's not like they, some are like, oh no, embrace what the family business is. Like, I just thought this movie's a mess. And it's just like this catastrophic series of terrible decisions, right? and again, like, the thing that I was hinting at.
Oh my God.
Right, there's a particular announcer that shows up, and once you right. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And
I don't want to ruin it, but
I'm not going to ruin it. But
it has to be experienced.
It has to be experienced, because when you see this person, when you recognize the way they talk, you're like, oh, okay, how's this going to work? And then when they do it, you're like, oh God,
we're not going to go there, are we?
Right. And then we get it again.
Oh my God.
And it's like this doubling down of terrible decisions, right? Like for instance, when you get Eva Green flying on Dumbo, and that's not a spoiler because we've seen that in the trailers. The effect on that is so bad and so awkward. It looks like Cosby riding that ostrich in Leonard Part 6.
Ooh,
like that's how bad it looks.
That's a very specific reference.
Thank you.
But the thing you're talking about, Matt, though, it's such a glaring anachronism. I don't know why anyone thought it was a good idea, because like it or not, in a Tim Burton movie, they will go to great lengths to make all of that detail like period specific, and they try to create for you this world, and then by having a really cheesy pop culture reference, they just yank you out of that world, and it's irreparable. I don't know why that was a good idea.
And they brought him out to the premiere and had him do it there, too.
Oh my God, cringe.
3 times.
Cringe.
The other thing too is for the time that it's set is like what, 1919, I think, right? Yeah. So they're doing the references, especially like this World of Tomorrow kind of thing, this theme park has got references to futuristic visions that people weren't doing in that style in 1919. Like the
That was like the 50s, right?
Well, but it was also like you didn't start seeing that till the 30s, till like the
Okay.
20s and 30s, right? So there's references to the way they're talking about rockets and the way they're talking about
Like the kitchen of tomorrow.
right? The kitchen of tomorrow. Like nobody was doing that until about 10 years after that. Like as somebody who is like at least not to that extent, right? You may have had hints of that, but like sure, point to the Art Deco design and the Fleischer Superman cartoons, but that's later than this. That's later than 1919, right? And so the references aren't consistent.
They got
That's
the futurism
off, too.
wrong.
Right, and that's really frustrating because the futurism at that point, like, sure, we talked about this coming out of the movie. Like, if they wanted to make it look like a trip to the moon, great, right?
Sure.
Like, that's the way I would have bought that. But they're making it look
George
like
Méliès,
right. I really was.
The main problem here is that the human characters are completely uninteresting. I mean, we don't care about Colin Farrell reconnecting with his kids. We don't care about the potential love interest that he winds up having. Michael Keaton is basically playing like Keenan Wynn in an old 70s Disney live action movie. I mean, that's the thing. And I said this in my review of TheWrap that Dumbo is this sort of beautiful story of an outsider and having to prove your worth and all this stuff. And the movie reduces it to being like $1 Million Duck or Gus, where we have an animal who can do this crazy thing, and now this mean guy wants to steal him, and it's like.
Also, I'm kind of baffled as to what Michael Keaton is doing here because it's a weirdly off performance. The accent he's doing is off.
The sunglasses do all the work.
The wig is terrible. Is he really evil? There's like a goofy spin he puts on the character that kind of undercuts the true deep villainy of who he's supposed to be playing.
Yeah, because there's moments where you're like, okay, maybe this guy's all right. Like, but then you don't get disturbed by, I shouldn't have been trusting him at all.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he can play that kind of character who is dangerous and yet charismatic. He's done that for quite a bit of his career, including in Beetlejuice. And I don't know what happens. Like that, all that instinct in him that makes him interesting has been tamped down.
Yeah, he could be doing this the way he played Ray Kroc.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good analogy. It's very similar. Yeah. So Dumbo's not good. I'm giving it a 4. And that feels high.
I was gonna say I was clearly in a generous mood when I saw it. I gave it a 4.5, but don't bother.
Matt.
3.
Okay, our number's at 3.8. It's at 54% on the tomato meter. Don't wait for Shazam.
Yeah, there you go. Totally. Thank you for watching us here on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel, like this video, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and keep your eyes peeled. We'll have an announcement soon about our Patreon page.
Thanks, bye.